Last year, for my Against The Grainz project, the documentary about living for your dreams, I was able to contact Barclay Crenshaw. You better know him as DJ Claude Vonstroke, who owns the Dirty Bird label. I was able to meet him in Madrid after his long night in Berlin. So this interview is a little bit funny. We had to do it in his hotel room, so we didn't have any time to set up. He was pretty tired, and he had 2 hours to get to a gig. So everything was kind of messy. Our setup was really ugly. The questions that I put out there weren't put together so well, but it was nice to have interviewed him, and he had some pretty good things to talk about. So this is that interview.
Okay.
All right, so as a kid, you played the cello, you played the piano, you created hip hop to pass a fucking math class.
Yeah.
I hated math as well. I don't know, I wish I could have thought of something like that. And then finally, you went on to create your own label and produce music, producing music first. So it's pretty safe to say that you've been interested in the arts for all of your life? I mean, were you interested in the cello, or something that you were like just given and expected?
My parents told we had to play instruments in our family, and so it's pretty cool. They took us to a music shop and told us that we could pick the instrument that we wanted to play. And that was the instrument, the cello was the instrument that I was able to get a song out of just sitting there. And so I just said, this is it. But it was kind of a crazy one to pick. It's pretty big.
It's not super cool.
Yeah. You gotta walk it to school.
It is, really, but it's cool.
Yeah, no, I didn't really love it, but it did. I learned a lot of stuff from playing cello and piano.
Okay. So, I mean, when and what led you to your decision that you would go against the grains in life and make doing so your career within the arts? What made you decide that you would live for music?
I actually had a lot of jobs, real jobs, all the way up until about 32 years old. I did all real video jobs, and I did every kind of job possible. And I worked in movies and washed dishes and pumped gas and did everything.
You pumped gas?
I did every job there is.
Did you do a car wash or something?
No, I didn't do a car wash.
Okay, I thought.
But I did a lot of stuff.
Okay.
The good part about that is that when I wanted to start the label, I was able to realize that what hard work was, and that it wasn't just gonna be a lot of people they start so young in the DJ business and stuff that they don't know about having a job and busting their ass and working really hard. And I think that was a big advantage being a little older.
And what was the reaction of your family and peers? Because it sounds like maybe you were working these jobs and they weren't the expected jobs. I mean, you said dishwashing.
Yeah, but I mean, those are high school.
Oh, okay.
But
you said until 32.
Yeah, no, I worked in film after college for the most part.
So, I guess what I'm leading towards, I want to know your family and your friends and the people around you, their reaction to you deciding that you wanted to live for music or for your art. It was...
My family's always super supportive. They actually liked that I was trying to do something. I mean, I had real jobs like that with a paycheck and everything in movies and stuff. So it wasn't like I was maybe not right at the start, but it's not like I was just floating around or something.
Right.
I was working all the time.
And so, a lot of times whenever you're working in these jobs, and I know that you also worked in the movies, as we just heard, and you quit doing that, but with art, and when people are kind of living for these different media types, you can grow doubtful. So I'm just curious, did you ever have that haunting doubt inside of yourself about whether you would be successful or not with your art?
I figured out that I wasn't going to be a movie director pretty quickly.
Okay.
Even though I ended up directing something later, but I don't know. I went to LA and I got jobs, and I realized that that's not really how you should get into movies. You should get into movies by making movies. And maybe after you worked on a couple movies, that's enough. You don't have to just keep working on movies. But you might want to work on a couple movies before you make a movie.
With other people to learn from them.
Yeah, just to see what's going on.
And so what would have been some of your most prominent struggles with, climbing
I
a
always-
ladder, or really...
I always did music, always. Even when I was working on movies, I did music in my free time. And I would start music and stop music, and I always wanted to do it. And I always wanted to do electronic music, whether it was hip hop or whatever, drum and bass, house. And after a while, I just started to, I wrote some screenplays and blah, 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 but I started to notice that I was just better at music. So I just kind of turned into music.
Have you had any struggle? Have you had any difficulties with... did you hit it? Did you just dive into music and it was like, man, I'm good at this?
No, I don't know how to answer that question. I did music since I was a kid, so I don't know.
It's just always been evolving.
I don't know if it was good, ever.
Okay.
Still, I always did it. So it wasn't like I was just saying I'm going to do music and then I started doing music and then it worked. I always did it from 10 years old. Even I had a 4-track recorder when I was 13, and I bought a sampler when I was 16. These are things that no kid would ever buy, but that was what I saved up for.
Nice. And do you think it was because somebody put, hey, let's go to the music store, pick out an instrument? Do you think
No, I think it's because of the radio.
Yeah?
I don't think that the music lessons, they gave me some structure, but they didn't have anything to do with this.
With your interest in...
The music on the radio was what I wanted to know how to make. No, I didn't want to know how to make Tchaikovsky.
And, aside, but what was your goal with that? What was your goal when you started? I want to do what with my music? I want to become famous. I want to feed it to people. I want people to be happy. I'm sorry for providing, but...
I didn't have any goals. I just made it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I was a kid, you mean?
Yeah,
I just made music to be funny or whatever. Just for fun. And then that was, I couldn't figure out, there is no internet, ways to find out everything that you need to know. You can find out anything now, but you couldn't find out anything then. And there weren't even really any magazines to tell you how to do anything either. I wanted to learn how to scratch. There's no information on this. You had to move to New York City and learn how to scratch by going and learning it from someone. That's the time that we're talking about in history. And so when I was a video editor in San Francisco, I started doing this, filming the DJs that would come into town. And I got a really nice roster of names on the film, all the way from Paul Van Dyke to Theo Parrish, Derek Carter, Orbital, whatever, 50 DJs. And I would ask them how they became popular and what they did to make it and all the steps that they took and very specific questions about how to start a record label and all that stuff. And then at the end of that project, I ran out of money. And so I couldn't license any of the music. And so I had to make all the songs that go under the interviews. So I made the music to sound like the people that I interviewed. And then by the end of it, I knew how to make house music and everybody told me how to make a label. So I just did both of them.
Do you consider yourself successful with what you're doing?
I am happy that I was able
I know
to
you're a
that I-
humble guy. Are you there?
No,
Have you sat back yet? Has there been a point where you sat back and said, I did it. I
yeah.
did it.
Sometimes when I'm DJing, I do that, and it's nice.
Okay.
Like I just look at the crowd and I'm like, okay, this is a fucking killer job.
Okay.
That's like the best answer that I can
The
give
most
you.
rewarding experience.
I don't think
That's a
that's
great
the
answer.
most rewarding experience. Is maybe like just signing the first record or something.
Okay.
Like you, in the beginning, everything is fresh and everything is really just like holy shit. And then as it repeats over and over, it's less like amazing to do something. But
It's like heroin, right?
no, it's like
Well, I'm just saying, like you get a tolerance.
yeah, you get a tolerance for good news. So-
Of the okay.
So then
Excuse me.
you have to be creative in your goals. Like if I try to make different goals or like get to some other place that I wasn't before to try. It's always trying to get the feeling of signing the first record or whatever. Yes, kind of like
So what would you say that your 5-year plan is now for growing and evolving as an artist and an entrepreneur? You are an entrepreneur. I mean that's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice.
my 5-year plan from now.
Yeah. Do you have one? Do you know where you're going? What is it?
It's it's I want to do other kinds of music. More I want to get into things that I'm not into now
Okay.
and expand and just I kind of think for many years I did the niche and like played in this game of like who's the coolest house DJ, and now I kind of want to just be like fuck, who cares who the coolest house DJ is, and just do lots of music and like work with people that people might not like you to work with or whatever, just like
Me
go
right fucking
I
here
mean,
right
like,
now.
no-
Really, the
I
coolest house
wouldn't-
DJ would have probably the coolest house DJ, the guy who's singing like that. I mean, maybe you've never been like that your whole thing, but it is. I mean, sometimes people. I tried to get Richie Houghton. I met his event planner, and maybe just because he's busy, but I don't know.
Yeah, people are just more busy. Like Richie Houghton is more busy than
Yeah,
you could even conceive in your
I
brain.
think that's a bad example. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm
I
so
just-
busy, but he is 10 times more
Yeah.
busy than me.
This guy's fucking busy, and
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Because I don't. Well,
It's very hard because I used to think exactly like this. I used to say when I was trying to interview the DJs for my project, well, I don't understand why this person can't give me 1 hour. They're coming to the town
I get
at
it.
6 p.m. and they don't work until 12 or whatever. I don't understand why I can't get 1 hour. But now I totally get it.
Yeah, I look at his involvement. I look at the things that